when we talked about the call, what to do with me and Freeze, obviously Freeze wasn't there. He sort of asked me, he said, like, I'm just cleaning the game up. And what I'm trying to do is, he said, I'm trying to make everything crystal clear to newer players, really. So you know. So sometimes we see things like do 2,000 damage in an area over 10 seconds. Now, some bots, that means you do 2,000 damage total. Some bots, it means you do 2,000 per second. But both descriptions just say do 2,000 damage over 10 seconds. And so it's very confusing to a new player where they go, why is this not doing 2,000 a second? But that one does. And then you go, oh no, well that one's just 2,000 over 10 seconds. That's 2,000 per second. But doesn't state that. So he's gone through all the tooltips and really cleaned them up. There's a second part to this, which we'll talk about in a minute. But he's gone through every bot and literally changed the tooltip. So it says, this bot does X amount of damage per second. And worked it out. So it's crystal clear. There's also quite a few where it didn't quite make sense and was worded quite badly. And me and Dale sat there for about 2 or 3 hours, and I was just throwing bats at him going, I'll bet you this is wrong. I'll bet you this is wrong. Go and check this out. It was also fixing bots that were doing the wrong thing. Some bots, sadly, were doing more than what they should. Most of them were doing a bit under, if I'm honest with you. And so it's like, yeah, well, that's got a bit of an increase, and that's got a bit of an increase. Mostly around fire damage. Fire damage was not doing as much damage as it should have. So bots like Sunstreaker weren't doing what they should. I think he said Double Dealer wasn't doing what he should. There was quite a few bots that have had a bit of an increase. And so I said, yeah, this is pretty good that we're sort of clearing this game up. And so every bot does exactly what it should. But then we got onto a different subject. With the sort of cleaning up, Dale said, what's very confusing is that you've got freeze, and you've got stun, and you've got disable, and you've got blind, and they kind of do similar things. Blind's a bit different. Blind is in most games. If you look outside of Earthworld, I think that's where he's thinking it. Blind is outside of most games. But freeze, stun, and disable. Now, Dale's point of view is these are all kind of the same. Now, most of the playtests and myself said, no. Stun and disable are completely different. They're not the same at all. And he said, well, both of them stop bots from using abilities. I was like, yeah, but the difference is stun will stop bot in its tracks. It won't move. You can't use ability. It won't move. That's it. Disable stops it using its ability, but it can still move. It can still fire its DPS. And he's like, well, how does that work on attack? I was like, well, basically, stun can stun anything apart from shock towers once you've got the Titan Treachery unlocked, and the MDS. I think that's basically it. Anything around a lightning rod you can't stun as well. But disable can disable the MDS, stop it firing basically. And so he said, well, that just seems like a bit of a cheap trick to be able to stun the MDS. Why can't you just stun the MDS? I was like, well, we thought that'd be a bit OP. So there's only a couple of bots, 2 or 3, that can disable it. And I think that it was Beast Wars, Silverbolt, Mirage, and Punch. There's not many that can disable. Most of them just stun. And none of them are real meta bots per se. Beast Wars, Silverbolt at low levels, but none of them are real meta bots. And Dale was like, I don't like the fact that it's like stun and disable and they both mean different. I think they should make them both the same. And playtest was like, no. And I was like, no. Leave the disable as it is. It gives these bots a slight edge. And I said to Dale that I was there in playtest when we talked about Beast Wars Silverbolt, and we said he's too much like every other bot. Can we make him disable the MDS? And Fabian was like, yeah, we can do that. And we did that, and that's what made him stand out. And that's why I'm looking forward to the 5-star version. Then when we made Punch, he was quite poor. He had a buff, and we said, can we give him disable to maybe target the MDS if he's in range? Give him an edge. Fabian said, yeah, we can do that. I was there for that playtest. I even think that might have been before Dale's time or early on in Dale's career when he wasn't delving into playtest. He was just a community manager. And so I said to Dale, these are as intended. They are meant to disable the MDS. They are as intended. They're meant to be that way. And Dale was like, well, I think we need to stop all these elements all over the show. We've got too many, hence why we removed water. It wasn't really gaining anything really in the game. And so he said it gets confusing because people are like, oh, what does water do? And you're like, well, nothing, so why have it? And that kind of makes sense. I understand removing water. But then I said to him, but the problem is, though, is that if you remove water from the game, what does the anti-water damage core do? People have leveled these cores and have these cores maxed out and use resources to get them. Are you going to refund them? What are you going to give them instead of this core? Are you going to give them what they want? Who knows? And then once you remove stun and maybe put disable in the game, then every bot can then stun the MDS, which is a bit OP, but people have asked for that. But then the lightning rod core does nothing because stun is not in the game anymore, only disable is. And if they go the other way and remove disable and only have stun, what does the MSM mine do? Will that stun? Because the mine without the MSM already stuns, whereas the MSM disables. And the problem with this is that it's like a domino effect. Is that I understand what Dale's trying to do and clean the game up, but all of a sudden you're making other things in the game not relevant. And what do you do then when content that people have already gotten chased is no longer relevant? I don't know. I don't know where that goes. What do you do with people who have got MSM mines, anti-stun mines, and anti-water cores, and we remove water and we just bring stun into the game? If we just bring disable into the game, does that make the MDS so much easier to take out? Is that a good thing? But then removing lightning rod cores. We're at a point now where I think we've just got enough Billbot cores. It's on the precipice of having too many. We've just got enough. Does it free it up to have more? I don't know. I really don't know how I feel about this. I understand what he's trying to do, and it's not he's trying to nerf things for anyone says like, oh, nerf, nerf, nerf. He's trying to clean the game up, make it more understandable for people, and make new players understand how the game works, because other games don't have freeze and stun and blind and this and that. They don't. They have different elements, but they all work differently. They don't have two elements that work the same, two mechanics that are very, very similar and have some things that are different. Like, how does a new player understand that you can't stun the MDS, but you can disable it, but stun and disable can't do the same thing? But it's not written anywhere that happens. I kind of get it. Let me know in the chat what you guys think. Cleaning the game up is brilliant, doing all these changes, all these fixes and improving things and tooltips and making them clearer. I love that. Getting rid of bugs in the game, bots doing as they should. I love that. Brilliant work. I love the fact Dale's doing this. But is it one step too far to start changing elements in the game that affect content that people have already chased? Let me know what you think in the comment.